Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's call with L&I Secretary Jerry Oleksiak and UC Fed's Policy Director Susan Dickinson. I'm Teresa Elliott, Deputy Communications Director for L&I. Please submit your questions by clicking the chat icon, which is the blue thought bubble located at the bottom of your screen. Please include your name and media outlet, followed by your question. In the interest of time, you'll be limited to one question, but time permitting, we'll open up the call for a second round of questions. You may submit any follow-ups to us at dlipress@pa.gov, and we will address them after the call. For your awareness, this call is being recorded. If you do not consent to being recorded, please hang up now. Following the call, a link to the recording will be provided to the media outlets that participated today. We'll get started with comments from Secretary Jerry Oleksiak. Secretary?
Thank you, Teresa, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this different time of the day than we normally do those, so we appreciate your flexibility. Let me start with the numbers as we have done. Currently, we have distributed since March 15th nearly $26 billion in benefits, $5 billion from our regular traditional UC program, 15.7 from the FPUC program, that's the extra $600 program, which ended in July. 4.8 from the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, which is that program for those traditionally not eligible for UC. And the remainder, about a little more than 300 million from the extended benefits programs, both the federal and state program. Thus far, 97% of our claims since between March 15th and September 3rd have been resolved, meaning they have either been paid or have been determined ineligible for payment, and we continue to focus on those remaining 3%. We have worked almost 300,000 hours of overtime to this point, 299,392 hours of overtime on part of our staff. And since March 15th, we have responded to over 2 million emails, phone calls, live chats, and virtual assistants. The numbers are improving as we have brought on the additional staff that we have talked about in the past. We are still looking to bring on more when and where we can. But we're starting to see some payoff in the wait times decreasing on the phones, the number of emails that we are answering every week. Not as high last week because of the holiday, but they have been increasing every week for several weeks, and we're happy to see that. As I say every week, we know that while we're very happy about these numbers and particularly the improvements we're seeing, it doesn't mean anything if you're not on the right side of those stats. And that is why we continue to look for ways to improve our response time and improve our customer service capabilities. Our trust fund, the balance as of Friday, September 11th, was $79,144,072. That's the official U.S. Treasury figure. At this point, we have secured the opportunity to borrow from the federal government to bolster the trust fund. All the required paperwork was completed. And we anticipate, as we have said all along, that somewhere in the middle or end of September, we would begin borrowing for the trust fund. And we expect to do that as early as today or tomorrow. As we mentioned last week, the Lost Wages Assistance Program, the dollars for that have ended. We have enough money through September 5th. So we have dollars for 6 weeks worth of the extra $300 benefit. Again, this is not a traditional unemployment program. This is emergency dollars through FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And that program the money is gone. But we will be paying all those who apply between August 1st and September 5th. We would encourage you to apply as quickly as possible. For when the money is gone, it's gone. We expect payments to begin, if not today, sometime this week. And they will be distributed in one lump sum for those weeks that people are eligible. Again, there are certain restrictions on that program. Only individuals who are fully or partially unemployed due to COVID may apply for the benefit. It requires eligible individuals to have a benefit rate and dependence allowance totaling $100 or more to receive the benefit. And they must receive a benefit each week from one of the following programs: the regular UC program, the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation, which is the extended benefits, PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, Pennsylvania's extended benefit, the shared work or short-time compensation programs, and the trade readjustment allowances. Individuals receiving benefits from these programs, with the exception of PUA and shared work, will need to apply for the Lost Wages Act by certifying one time only that they are unemployed due to COVID-19. You can do that through uc.pa.gov/cert, uc.pa.gov/cert to complete that certification process. And again, you only need to do that one time. If payments, as we said, will go out in one lump sum, and you should be beginning to get those this week. We are continuing to make progress, but continuing to fight what is still ongoing fraud in the PUA system. We would encourage folks to go to uc.pa.gov/fraud to look at what the scam warning signs are. There will be details on how to report fraud, and also instructions for individuals to return any fraudulent benefits that they might receive. Again, that work continues with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Attorney General's Office, the Inspector General at the federal level, various law enforcement agencies at the state and local level to put a stop to this fraud that is keeping deserving citizens from receiving their benefits. We will also be holding our 16th Town Hall this Thursday, September 10th. So we encourage folks to join us at access.live/PA-labor. That's access.live/PA-labor, or to call 833-380-0719. With that, thank you, and we will begin to answer your questions, excuse me.
Thank you very much, Secretary Oleksiak. Again, I encourage any reporters that have questions at this time to please submit them to us using the blue thought bubble at the bottom of your screen. You can submit your questions along with your media outlet to us using the chat feature. Our first question is in reference to UC Trust Fund. It's a multi-part question, so I'm going to break this into sections. Joe Chevalier from Bucks County Courier-Times asks, how much is Pennsylvania planning to borrow? How will the borrowing work? And what's the interest rate the federal government is charging us?
It's no interest rate. It's a zero interest loan. It's similar to a line of credit that you would get on your home, as equity. We have asked for, I think, $800 million. And Susan, you might know these figures. $800 million for the first month, $1 billion for the second month, and $1 billion for the third month that we need to borrow. We were approved, so we can access that now, and we will be doing that this week. So it's a zero interest, similar to a revolving line of credit.
Second part of the question is, how will the money be repaid, and why specifically do we need to borrow?
Well, because of the pandemic is the reason. We have seen, as we've said all along, record unprecedented unemployment compensation claims numbers. We were well on the way. About this time this year, maybe a little sooner, the trust fund would have been fully solvent, which means 250% of assets to cover anticipated liabilities. So we were well on our way to doing that. The last time we had to pay back a loan was before my time, and there were bonds that were floated, and the bonds were paid off early. Right now, we are anticipating that we'll look and work with the legislature to see, and the governor's office, obviously, to see what the best way is to pay back those loans. It will depend on a number of factors: how much is borrowed, what the status of the state budget is. So we will make that determination as we continue to work our way through the pandemic.
Next, we have a question from Joe Napsha at the Tribune Review. Do you anticipate that some workers who have lost their jobs due to COVID-19 will not be able to get the LWA money because the state allocation will be exhausted?
That's a real possibility, and Susan, perhaps you could speak to that more directly, but that's why we are encouraging people, apply as soon as you can to get the benefits that are there. Susan, can you speak to that a little more?
Sure. And we had started payment processing for most programs late last week. And then over the weekend, we started the PUA, LWA processing. So we're still payment processing for the first upfront reach back. And we don't know, exactly how much we'll end up with once all of the main payments have been processed. So far, we're okay. But, after that, we still have a couple months to make retroactive payments to individuals, just as long as we still have the funds available. So we are going to watch it closely. FEMA also watches all of the states closely every week. Every state has to file reports. We have to say how much money is still outstanding after we've made payments. Those reports are generally due toward the end of the week. So we'll be keeping an eye on it and seeing how much is left and making sure that we have the appropriate public notices up if we are running close.
And let me reiterate what I said earlier, that this is not a traditional unemployment program. This is through FEMA, not through the Department of Labor, where the traditional UC programs and the PUA program and the extended benefits program is being run. So this is not a unemployment compensation program in that sense. So the rules are different, and we will follow the rules that the federal government lays down.
Okay, Secretary Oleksiak and Ms. Dickinson still have a few more moments. If anyone has any additional questions, please submit them at this time, and we will try to get them addressed for you during this call. If you do not have an opportunity to submit your questions during this call, you can email them to us at dlipress@pa.gov, and we will try to get back to you sometime this afternoon. We have another follow-up from the Bucks County Courier-Times regarding the UC Trust Fund. When did the state last have to borrow from the federal government, and how much money did the trust fund have in February?
I'm not sure on either one of those numbers or those questions. I believe the last time we had to borrow, and again, Susan, you've been around longer than I have, was during the recession of the mid-2000s or early 2000s. And as far as the amount that was in there in February, we can certainly get that exact dollar figure for you. I don't have that available now. But as I said before, we're well on our way to being fully solvent, which was, we were very happy about. But the pandemic has impacted many, many things, and our trust fund is just one of those. But we can get those exact dates and dollar figures for you.
We have an additional question from the Tribune Review. How much money does the state have in the Lost Wages Assistance Funds to distribute?
For all 6 weeks that we were approved for, it was around $2.8 billion.
And that's how much we had total, Susan, or how much we have now?
How much we have total for all of the payments, $2.8 billion.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Next, Bucks County Courier-Times again. How much money does the trust fund need to be back on solid footing?
Again, that's not a number I can give you offhand, and it depends on a variety of factors. There's all kinds of formulas and logarithms involved in computing that number. But as we get the information that we mentioned earlier about when we last used it and how much was in it in February, we'll see what information we can get related to that particular question. But I don't know that offhand. And Susan, I don't know if you have any further information on that.
Now, I'm sure that the Center for Workforce Information and Analysis has to run the numbers as well as DOL, and they'll have to make sure that they do their full analysis to ensure what it is we need to do.
Okay, well, that looks like all the questions we have for today. So again, I encourage anyone that has any follow-up questions to please email our communications office at dlipress@pa.gov. Thank you so much for joining us today. and stay well.